What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we got round three with Heidi of the Butcher Babies. It is great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for coming back.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. So excited to see you.
Yeah, it's so great to be able to talk with you again. I can't believe it's been, what, like a year and a half since we last spoke? The Infected Rain tour in September. So,
Yes,
yeah, that,
yes. Oh, my good buddies. I just hung out with Lena last night.
they're great people, great people. That was a dream
Yeah,
tour, too.
yeah, that was really fun. We might need a round two here soon.
We need to make it happen. But it's so awesome to have you here. Your new single, Beaver Cage, is absolutely fucking kick ass. Thank you so much for awesome new music. Is this like a good representation of what the follow up to Lilith is going to sound like? Or is there a lot more to be discovered on the next Butcher Babies album?
You know, it is a great representation, actually. It's quirky, it's silly, it's fun, and I think the whole album really reflects that. But the album also has a really dark side. Oh, my little puppy sneaking in
I
here.
love it.
It
I
has it
love
has
it.
a dark side as well, and and something that we're very excited about is showing these different sides of Butcher Babies. When Lilith came out, I actually had quit smoking immediately after that album. So my voice changed so much between then and now. So you get to really hear the fun ranges I was able to discover in my voice after quitting smoking.
Oh, congratulations on that too. That is not
Thank
easy to
you.
do. um, yeah, and I've noticed that too. Like I've always thought you had a fantastic range. When I first heard "Here Comes the Massacre" off of the Goliath album, like the way that you're able to have both singing and screaming together. I think you have the voice of both an angel and a demon. Does different usage, does different usages of your voice express different sides of yourself in a way, or being that it's all coming from your own voice, they do express the same thing with just different techniques?
Well, I hope that my different ranges can emulate different emotions. That's really the whole point of this. I want to be able to make someone feel something. And, with being able to reach down into the deep gutturals and then to the extreme highs, that's something for me that has been exciting, recording wise. I can get in there and I can try different things to make it say something different. If I want to have a deeper, darker feel for this, then I'm going to go into those low gutturals. Or if I want to feel soft, then I'll hit those beautiful falsettos. So yeah, you'll hear a lot of that on the album, lots and lots of different emotion.
On a technical level, is it like almost like are you able to tell by the riffs, like I'm gonna scream over this part and sing over this part in a way? Like, are you able to tell just by the musical sound?
Yeah, and something that we definitely tried to do with this album is kind of steer away from, oh, typically this would be screamed over, or typically this would have a beautiful melody over the top of it. We tried to kind of switch it up here and there to see if we could kind of go against what we've always done, which I think is really fun as an artist to do. And you come up with some really experimental, I guess you could say, beautiful parts with that as well. But there are some times, you hear a soaring chorus, you're like, oh, this needs a beautiful melody over the top of it. And you can't deny that.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
Does it ever start off with a preconceived vision in a way, or are you like a very impulsive writer where like you just kind of go into it with not very much forethought and just kind of let the inspiration sort of drive you?
There's both for sure. There's writing with a purpose, and then there's just experimental writing. And I think with both things, you can have amazing results. One thing that an old manager had told us years and years and years ago when we were writing our second album, he was just like, you go into this and be more than, two girl singers and a low tuned guitar. Go in and write with a purpose. And that's something that has really stuck with me for a long time. If I want to go in and I want to write a radio song that has this a big chorus and sing songy parts, then I'm gonna write with that purpose. But if I want to go in and I feel like making a face melter that day, I'm gonna go in and write with a purpose for a face melter. So it's it's definitely a little bit of both there.
Well, like you mentioned, like Beaver Cage is very silly in a way, and like it kind of reminded me of the lyricism from Mr. Slowdeath in a way. It kind of had that sort of similar vibe behind it. Is Beaver Cage like though like in an is sort of like a external metaphor for somebody? Because when I like read the lyrics in a way, like if you get your shots, then you'll go with Rob. Come back to America to piss off the moms. Like it almost seems like there's a rebel aspect behind it, but does it also maybe reflect sort of like an inner sort of character or an inner being or energy that you're just letting out?
So that part in particular was written about R. Kelly. And he actually has this video, and I have posted it on our social medias. He has this video of years ago. He was in Ethiopia and he was like, "Oh, I broke up with my girl before coming out here. And so I need to find myself a new honey. Which one of y'all has your shots? Which one of y'all has your passports?" And then he busts into this song, and it's basically, if you get your shot, if you get your passport, you can come back to America with Rob. And we thought it was just so interesting because the song is really about this chaotic rock star lifestyle that everyone thinks that these rock stars have. You know, it's a, if you hear in the chorus, it says, they say I'm just an effing rock star. They say I've turned into a monster. It's just, it's kind of that old mentality of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and just destroying hotel rooms. And it turns out that that's just a whole problem in and of itself. You know, definitely not accepted in the industry today. And it's kind of just about that lifestyle catching up to you and you getting what you really deserve, aka R. Kelly. so so it's that's what the song is really kind of loosely about. But when we were writing the song, we wanted it to be as chaotic and as weird as possible. We're like, okay, lyrics that don't really make sense, let's put those together. And then it ended up making sense. So it's really about just like the wildest night of your life as a rock star.
Well, one of my favorite quotes of all time. It was hanging on a wall at my first summer job. It says, "Without great tone, there is only sex and drugs." So,
Okay, there you go.
so
I like that.
um, when it comes to me, the most integral sound of Butcher Babies, because I could tell what would be off of Lilith or Goliath or Take It Like a Man. It seems like every record has its own approach, but what ties in all your material together is the voices of you and Carla singing together. When it comes to either writing the lyrics, tracking the vocals, or even singing together on stage, do both of you need to be feeling the same way emotionally or feeling sort of the same sort of energy in a way to make the song sound consistent, or could both of you being in your headspace, different headspaces, actually help enhance like the contrast between the two?
No, I mean, we definitely go in and we're in the same headspace. We talk about the song, we talk about the emotion it's supposed to feel. We're always, I think, the only album that we were not there for recording each other's parts was Goliath. And neither of us liked that because we are each other's like best cheerleader when we're in the studio, and it helps so much that we are in the same exact mindset. If we are talking about, okay, this is getting this part of this song, give it this type of emotion, I want to hear that angst in your voice, or I'm going to give this and I'm going to take a breath. If we're doing a harmony and I'm going to take a breath on the third word, she has to take a breath on the third word, or vice versa. It just has to be very, very cohesive in that realm. We have to say the words the exact same. We have to think the exact same in order for those harmonies to really, really work together. Because a lot of singers and bands, they do their own harmonies. They know how they're going to sing. So when it comes to having two vocalists that sing, equal lead harmonies, it's we really, really have to be in the exact same mindset together.
Yeah. I've always wondered, like, because like last night I saw Mushroomhead where they bring in two vocalists on stage, but like
Yeah.
whether it be Lacuna Coil who have two vocalists or We Came as Romans who bring in two vocalists, I've always wondered, like, do like they both need to be in a way like clones of each other because everybody likes to everybody's an individual, or is the reason you have two vocalists is to bring the two individual talents together, which I
Well, it's really interesting too because when we're recording, yes, we need to be like mind to mind, brain to brain. But when we are when we are on stage, I think that that's something that it makes, each band unique, is that of course everyone has their own style. Carla and I are vastly different when we're on stage. Totally different, totally different mindsets, but we know what we're trying to get across together. So there's always at least that commonality on stage.
Now you mentioned Goliath, and it's you led me perfectly into the next question actually, because this year does mark 10 years of
Yeah.
the debut of Butcher Babies. For a lot of people, including myself, we first heard of Butcher Babies when you got announced for 2013 Mayhem Festival. Man, that was a good time. Just kind of
Yeah.
going back, what was the sort of mindset behind the creation of that? Like when you released the Butcher Babies EP in 2012, what was the sort of like mindset with the making of your full length debut, and how has it evolved onto Take It Like a Man and Lilith and this new full length?
Well, we wrote Goliath throughout our whole lives, and we had so much to write about. So it really was like this was not an album where we were writing with any type of purpose. It was just, here's everything we've experienced our whole lives. Here you go. And coming in as, how old was I then? I was 27 years old, I believe. And coming in having all, like, here's everything I've experienced in my last 27 years, and throwing it on paper. It was chaotic, it was fun. And as we moved into later albums, everything, like I said, was kind of written more with a purpose and in the moment, rather than taking things that I had written in high school and putting it on an album, which you hear a lot of on Goliath. So it was definitely a different mindset. I think for us, we were just trying to get creative. We didn't really have any type of sorry, my dog.
I love it. I love it. I
We
love it.
didn't really have any type of direction really going into it. It was just, let's play some heavy music together, let's have a good time, let's just try and put our creation into the world. And that's really what it was all honest and raw.
That's the best way to describe it, honest and raw. And here's sort of like, so you have your first album. I'd imagine, creating your first album is very, very difficult because, you got to decide what direction you're going to go into. It's, your first experience making an album. So does it get
Yeah.
easier making an album as as the experience gets more and more and more, or does it actually get harder?
I definitely would not say it gets easier.
Of course.
I think I think that there's something to be said about, um, evolving. And you know, Goliath was 10 years ago. I'm a totally different human than I was 10 years ago. I've experienced, I feel like, a whole lifetime of stuff, touring the world multiple times over with my friends. Just kind of deciding what to even touch on. And especially whereas in the industry, people say, oh, you need to be doing this now. Oh, you need to do this. This is going to make you successful. You need to transition into this way, that way, this way, this way, that way. So, kind of maintaining the integrity of what you want to create, I think is a lot harder, album to album to album. In this band, I'm super grateful for having the band members that we have, because we love to experiment and try different things. On this new album, you'll hear some of the softest stuff we've ever done. A lot of these songs have been released, like Bottom of a Bottle, which is a total radio song. And that was a song that I went in with intention and totally, this is the kind of song that I want to write for this. And then you'll hear songs like Beaver Cage, where it's wild and chaotic. Um, so I'm excited that we have band members that let us experiment in that way. But you know, when it came to deciding what kind of album we really, really wanted to do, we ended up with a double album because we kind of had two different directions that we really wanted to showcase.
Of course. And you have all these different directions, which is what always keeps your fans and new listeners
Yeah.
on their toes as well, which is what I love. I never know what to expect from Butcher Babies despite listening to you for 10 years now at this point. When it comes to inspiration, this is a debate I like to have with artists. Does is inspiration something that can really be sought out? Like, can you actually look for inspiration, or does it just is inspiration only inspiration when it just strikes you when you least expect it?
Man, both. sometimes I will sit down to watch crazy, gory horror films, and I'll just take notes, and here's my experimentation on this. Here's my interpretation of this. And then a lot of times it'll hit you when you least expect it. Um on the road, on travel days, sitting there and looking out the window and just thinking sometimes, and just watching the world go by, is sometimes the best inspiration that you can get. Just watching, oh, here we're in Indiana, here's all the cornfields. I don't know, do they have cornfields?
I've never been.
but but it's or being in Europe is really incredible too, just looking out over the countryside and seeing all these lands, and imagining what the people go through that live in these lands. Or that happened a lot in Russia, just like seeing all these slums and seeing what kind of people live here, thinking about these things, and you can really gain a lot of inspiration from that.
Absolutely. Art comes out of art. Like inspiration is
Yeah.
like, it's in a way like air or water. It is just everywhere,
Yeah.
and sometimes you don't even realize it, which I think is the beautiful aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can come across it at any time. It's just about savoring that moment. I think for me personally, being able to recognize things as inspiration is key.
And this kind of led me into the final question in a way, because you've touched upon many subject matters. Like, you have, again, Beaver Cage. It has sort of like your sillier aspect of it, or I don't even like that term silly, but the letting
It's
go.
it's really silly.
Okay.
It was written from a silly part.
Okay, so if you're saying it, I'm cool with saying it. But you've also, I could tell that you put your heart and soul. You even express your own personal trials and tribulations in your music that a lot of people can relate to. When you have to maybe utilize, though, darkness or agony as a means of subject matter, it's clearly very cathartic to, release your
Mhm.
demons on the music. But confronting your demons is also very intimidating. Has the songwriting process in a way been just as deteriorating as it can be cathartic, having to overcome that?
I think at first, yes. I When writing our second album, there's a song called Dead Man Walking on it that was written about experiences with my father. And I didn't have a relationship with him at all, like pretty much at all during that time. I have a great relationship with my dad now. And I think being able to sing that song really, really, and every night on tour that we would play it, it really is like chipping away at the old block, chipping away at those problems, and it bears your soul to a point where it now becomes in the past, and it's easy to move past it. So I think, of course, it is a cathartic thing. It can be scary, but for me, I need that in my life. I need to get up on stage and I need to sing songs like Sleeping with the Enemy and Bottom of a Bottle and then Beaver Cage. I need to get up there and I need to feel those range of emotions for my own personal therapy. So I open my arms to it as wide as possible. And it can be a scary thing for a lot of people, but for me, it's what I do this for.
And we thank you for it. Does a song resonate with you differently depending on what the subject matter can be about, if it's more personal or internal versus external in a way, or being that it's still coming from your own heart and your own mind, and you and Carl are singing together, it very much resonates with you in a similar manner?
Uh, yes. Yeah. I mean, still, absolutely. There's a song that we play called Thrown Away, and it's off of our second album, and we still play it. We played it on our last European run, and we sit back to back, and it is so emotional. And it's not just emotional because, puts us back in that place where we wrote it from, but the crowd is emotional. They've heard this song for almost 10 years, and now they're hearing it live and singing along, and all the emotions that they have felt with that song over the last 10 years hitting us in the face. So it still feels the exact same way.
Yeah, it's amazing how art could evolve over time as you evolve.
Yeah, absolutely. Art evolves for sure, and everyone can take a song and look at it from a different standpoint, and that's what makes music beautiful.
Of course. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today, and a huge shout out to the additional guests that we had on the interview as well.
A
That
Cookie Monster Tooth.
I love it. I love it. I always love it when the cats or the dogs just photobomb the interview. When a security guard at a venue does it, it's not cool. But when the pets do
It's
it,
not as fun.
yeah. But
Yeah.
before we go, is there just anything else that you would like to promote with this new album in terms of tours or new music? This will be uploaded by midnight, so if it hasn't been announced yet, don't say it here.
We have a tour we're announcing tomorrow. So very excited about it. You'll see.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Hopefully it's coming to New York.
I think it is. I
Okay.
think so.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, Heidi of the Butcher Babies. Check out their new single, Beaver Cage. More new stuff coming very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.